Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your #1 source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Lots to talk about tonight. We're on top of breaking news this evening after multiple people were injured in a small plane crash in Cumberland County. What we're learning about the plane and the people who were inside.
And there is certainly a big-time storm system back to our west currently. We're going to go over where this is headed, if it could affect us, and our Memorial Day storms also on the way coming up.
Plus, police were in a Raleigh neighborhood for over 8 hours today, investigating a death that they now believe was a homicide. Thanks for being with us tonight. I'm Dan Haggerty. Let's talk about the rain and storms they've been moving through, and they're building up as we head into our Memorial Day. So tomorrow is, in fact, a WRAL weather alert day because of this. We do have a level 2 risk of severe storms coming, so that means a chance of damaging winds. We could possibly see this side, some hail as well, even some isolated tornadoes. So we want to pay attention to all of that. Meteorologist Anthony Baglione is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. Anthony, some of the storms actually moving in this evening already.
Yeah, this is a very strong storm system that's currently to our west, but we've seen some severe thunderstorm warnings come out for portions of the North Carolina mountains. All of those yellow polygons that you see showing up right there are severe thunderstorm warnings. We've seen tornado warnings back to our west. It is likely that this initial round may lose some steam as it goes across the mountains, but they're talking some big time severe chances here out in portions of, let's say, Nashville, Tennessee, for instance, up toward Ohio. It does drop off a little bit. We're under level 1 out of 5 risk for us tonight, and then again that jumps up into tomorrow. Let's talk about what that means for us. So here's Futurecast. We are good to go the next couple of hours if you're still needing to get anything done tonight. 9 o'clock though by this evening, and as we go later on after dinner time, we may start to see some scattered storms from the triangle to the north. Notice that coverage is relatively sparse, but if you get under them, it could be a little bit more potent. We're expecting at least that chance for some downpours and maybe some gusty winds. That's about it for us tonight. We take you ahead here to 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Some scattered storms possible in the morning, and I think our severe risk, though, would come in into the afternoon. These storms, though, will play a key role in if our severe potential is greater or lower in the afternoon. If you walk outside, lots of cloud cover, lots of rain, that may limit our severe potential. Lunchtime still looking good to go, and then, Dan, we get into the evening. Some of these storms that pop up could be on the strong side. We are going to get you prepared here for all of this and show you a beautiful forecast beyond tomorrow coming up here in a few minutes.
Sounds good. We'll talk to you soon. Anthony, thank you. Now to this breaking news this evening. Unbelievable video. It's hard to believe people survived this, honestly. Multiple people injured. They were inside this plane when it crashed in a wooded area in Cumberland County. Sky 5 over that scene today. The video of the charred, badly damaged plane, as you can see, stuck in those trees there. 3 people on board when this happened. WRL's Heidi Kirk, live for us now in Cumberland County. And Heidi, we were just showing the video. People were getting a sense. You earlier were just feet away from that plane crash. Can you give us an idea of what that was like?
Well, Dan, just moments ago, state troopers asked us to leave right here where the scene actually is. You're going to see some caution tape right here stretched across, but right around the bend back there, that is where that plane crashed. Like you said, we got up close. We saw the charred bits, debris scattered everywhere. It really is a shock to see. Now, I want you to take a look at your screens. You're going to see some video that Sky 5 shot. You just saw a little bit of a teaser, but now you're going to see that in depth, what that looks like. Now, that plane crashed around 11 a.m. this morning at Grays Creek Airport in Fayetteville. Now, in a statement, the FAA confirmed the plane struck trees and caught fire before crashing. Now, several agencies are out there as we speak investigating. There were 3 people on board and 3 injured. That's what we know so far. We're trying to figure out a little bit more of those details, but at this time, that's what we know so far. Now, we went to the nearby neighborhood and talked to neighbors about what they heard and saw. Many of them didn't see much, but they did say that it's common to have heavy air traffic above their homes and from the nearby flight school. But the crash itself still comes as a shock.
Oh, we hear it all the time. They're always flying very low. When we first bought the house, we didn't notice there was a lot of air traffic because otherwise we probably wouldn't have bought it.
Now, someone at the Cape Fear Aviation Flight Training School told WRAL that the plane was one of theirs, but they weren't able to confirm if any students were involved. We are still working to find out those details, and in the meantime, there are multiple agencies that are investigating, and we will continue to push them for answers. Dan?
Just thinking about the people on board and their families, what they're going through tonight. WRAL's Heidi Kirk, live for us in Cumberland County. Heidi, thank you. So the parents now of professional golfer Grayson Murray, who is from Raleigh, they do say they're confirming tonight that he took his own life. Murray died yesterday morning, just 30 years old. His death came one day after he withdrew from the Charles Schwab Cup Challenge at the Colonial Country Club in Texas. Murray, over the years, had openly shared his struggles with alcohol abuse and anxiety and depression. The PGA Tour and his management company shared a statement from Murray's parents. It said in part, "We've spent the last 24 hours trying to come to terms with the fact that our son is gone. It's surreal that we not only have to admit it to ourselves, but that we also have to acknowledge it to the world. It is a nightmare." They also added, "Please honor Grayson by being kind to one another. If that becomes his legacy, we could ask for nothing else." So it is worth saying, if you or someone you know is experiencing a mental health crisis, you can call or text the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. That number is 988. There are people available to help 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Investigators were on the scene in Raleigh for more than 8 hours today. This after a man was found shot to death. This video, this is Deep Channel Drive. It's right near Buffalo Road and Neuse River. Police were called to the scene around 5:30 this morning. Pretty early, they found 31-year-old Jeremiah Frazier dead. They said he had injuries with multiple gunshot wounds. At 1:30 this afternoon, investigators were still there on the scene. They seem to be focusing on the Chevy Tahoe that was in the area around it. Police are investigating Frazier's death as a homicide and say they will release more details at a later time. A person died after a shootout with police in Wilson. It happened around 12:30 a.m. overnight. Police saying officers were responding to shots fired on Hood Street. When they got there, they found a person who posed a threat, they say. Officers say they exchanged gunfire and the person was killed. The State Bureau of Investigation is now handling the case. Goldsboro police say a man died after being shot. It happened on East Elm Street just after 6 p.m. yesterday. Police say 56-year-old Tyrone Hicklin was taken to the hospital after being shot in the abdomen, where he did die from his injuries. The investigation is ongoing. Durham police identified the man who was shot and killed near Keystone Place yesterday evening. They say 20-year-old Ricky Nichols Jr. was in the passenger seat of that white sedan you saw there when another car pulled up alongside and shot into the vehicle. Nichols died at the scene. The suspect, as well as the driver of that white sedan, fled the scene. Police are still investigating. Several law enforcement agencies responded to a four-wheeler crash in Moore County this afternoon. Our breaking news tracker got video of that busy scene on Roseland Road outside of Aberdeen. Officials there are saying that the person that was driving that four-wheeler lost control and hit a tree. The rider was taken to the hospital. Roseland Road was closed in both directions. So it's a busy travel day, of course, for this holiday weekend. WRAL's Megan Glova is in the WRAL Live Center with a look at traffic, how things are moving out there on the roads, and over at RDU. Megan.
Yeah, Dan, folks must be busy at the beach or at a barbecue because the roads are looking really good right now. Take a look. This is I-40 at Aviation Parkway. Things moving very smoothly there, and that is despite AAA predicting that the worst times to be on the road today would be between 3 and 7 p.m. A wider look, we're seeing lots of green on the traffic map. 2 crashes in North Raleigh right now, but it doesn't appear those are causing any significant delays. Where we are seeing delays is at RDU 66 to be exact, but 0 cancellations at the airport, so some good news there, Dan.
All right, Megan, thank you so much. It is always worth mentioning that Memorial Day is a time to come together, of course, but to honor those who died while serving our country. We are sharing the story of one veteran who continues to serve even after his death through a gift of organ donation. Plus, oyster populations have been struggling for decades on the North Carolina coast. How officials hope that an oyster sanctuary might be a solution.
Following some very sad breaking news, we just learned of a fatal drowning at Jordan Lake today. It claimed the life of 16-year-old Brian Guzman of Winston-Salem. He was visiting to visit his 18-year-old brother to celebrate a friend's birthday there. It happened at 3:30 today, and this is giving authorities the chance to also remind you to wear life jackets, swim in designated areas, supervise children closely. We're trying to learn more about this, but again, a fatal drowning at Jordan Lake today.
All right, Megan, thank you. Oyster populations have been struggling for decades on the North Carolina coast, and that is why the Division of Marine Fisheries began their oyster restoration program nearly 30 years ago. And 16 years ago, the North Carolina Coastal Federation joined in on that effort. So they are currently, at this point, dumping rocks by a barge by the bargeful into a section there of the Pamlico Sound as part of an oyster sanctuary.
We build these in strategic locations in Pamlico Sound where oyster larvae will settle. They will grow into adult oysters and they'll spawn and provide oyster larvae for other areas in the Sound that are in need.
This spring and summer, the work is continuing in the Sound, where the group hopes to construct another 30 to 40 acres. So this is a time of year when many people come together to honor those who have died while serving our country. This Memorial Day weekend, one local family is reflecting on a veteran who continues to serve even after his death, saving many more lives with his organs. And as WRAL's Laura Levine reports, part of him even lives on now in his widow.
This is Patrick Brzezowski and his wife Liz, pictured side by side with still many more memories yet to make.
His personality was as large as his stature. He had a heart of gold. He loved his family.
Slowly finding the words to describe the love of her life to me, 1 year after his death, she now sits with his memory.
He loved being in the military. It kind of defined him. He was in for 24 years, and I think when he was in the military, helping people was just what he loved to do.
He served 3 tours overseas, yet it was March 26, 2023 that became their worst nightmare.
I smelled burning rubber, and then I felt the tire start to vibrate. And I just tapped him on the shoulder, and I said to him, I said, I think we need to pull over. I think the tire's going to blow. And that's the last thing I remember.
They were riding home on their motorcycle before it crashed. She later learned from witnesses he grabbed her to take the brunt of the impact. Much later, Patrick was declared brain dead. This honor walk, where more than 100 members of his brothers and sisters in the Combat Veteran Association celebrated his life.
You know, Patrick was big into helping us help the families for those that we lost.
His selfless spirit lived on. In his passing, it was discovered he was a registered organ, eye, and tissue donor.
That's not surprising at all. I mean, he was just a big character, you know, big heart.
I later got a letter from the recipient of the liver, and his name is Johnny, and he sent me a letter just, you know, thanking me.
Honor Bridge, a local organ donation and tissue recovery organization, helped in this process. Someone also received one of his kidneys. But it doesn't stop there. Liz herself was still recovering from the accident.
I had elbow surgery in February, and my doctor had said that I needed to have reconstruction and that I would need a cadaver graft. And my thought in my head was, wow, I could possibly use one of Patrick's donations.
Directed donations are super rare, so we recognize this as a special case.
This honor garden, as they walk through it today, is a reminder of hope to help others.
I can't talk about him for a long time because I get worked up, and I suppose it's going to happen for a long time. But I have him in my arm for the rest of my life, so he will always be with me.
As we remember a lot of great veterans this holiday weekend over Memorial Day. Laura Levine reporting there. Let's send things over to Anthony Baglione. We have some severe weather potentially moving into our area here pretty soon. Anthony.
Yeah, this is a big line of storms, Dan, that was back to our west. It's starting to get closer here to some of our northern counties. And just over the past literally 5 minutes or so, we saw the National Weather Service issue a severe thunderstorm watch that goes until 11 o'clock tonight. It does include Durham. It does not include Raleigh right now. Roxborough, though, would be included. Our northwestern counties will watch to see if they expand this based on kind of what this storm system is doing. What that's saying is, though, we could see the potential for some gusty winds, some lightning, some downpours, just some strong storms coming through in that direction. This does not at this point look like a tornado threat. We take a zoomed out view, though. These are the storm reports from this system. Every single one of those icons that you see with the white showing up, those are thunderstorm wind damage icons. So that's something to be said. This is a very potent storm system. They definitely did have some tornadoes and unfortunately some deadly tornadoes out into Texas last night. So that was kind of something we were watching here. We watch where we currently sit, though. You can see that severe thunderstorm watch in the yellow, couple tornado warnings up to our north. Lots of lightning, though, and as this crosses the mountains, it's likely to lose a little bit of steam, but we could still see a little bit of this hold together as Futurecast is pinpointing there. There's 9 o'clock. Again, that watch goes until 11, and from essentially the triangle to the north where they have it currently out, that's where we're going to watch that potential for some scattered showers and storms, some of which could be on the stronger side. Early tomorrow morning, let's talk about Memorial Day because we have another chance of some strong storms tomorrow. Here is 7 o'clock. I think we will wake up to a potential for some off and on rainfall, some storms potentially. Our severe risk, though, would come in into the afternoon and evening. There's a look at lunchtime. We are still good, and I anticipate a lot of dry time overall tomorrow. We're not going to see rain and storms all day long. It's just if we get pockets that develop, they could be a little bit stronger. So it's a relatively isolated threat for us. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you'll likely look up, see some sunshine. It'll be good to go. That sun, though, potentially could help to initiate some of these storms. There's a look at 7 o'clock tomorrow evening. They will go on through, and I think the best chances for strong to severe storms would be along and east of I-95. This is a change, though, from earlier this morning. If you're watching our morning shows, the Storm Prediction Center expanded that level 2 risk to include the entire state of North Carolina. The best tornado chances kind of within that severe risk, if you will, would be from about Raleigh off to the east. I really think the coastal areas from New Bern up to the Outer Banks could be a decent shot at some of these. We'll see the potential for just an isolated tornado or two. This is not a big widespread threat, but make sure to keep tuning in here as we fine tune this a little bit as we get closer. Otherwise, our big story here, it feels like 97 degrees currently in Clinton, close to 100. It's hot and humid, 93 in Raleigh, 95 in Rocky Mount. That heat will stick with us as we get into our Memorial Day itself. And then I'll show you in a second, we get into Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, a really nice and lower humidity forecast as well. 71 is where we go tonight here across the triangle, upper 60s tomorrow. Most of us in the upper 80s and low 90s tomorrow, about a 30-40% chance of those showers and storms. So not a widespread coverage, but again, if they could become strong, they might be strong to severe tomorrow afternoon. 88 Tuesday, then Dan, look at that beautiful forecast. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, lower humidity and temps in the 80s.
That looks great. Anthony, thank you. All right, start your engines. Casey Hintz joins us now. Big day in motorsports, huh?
Yeah, it is. It's actually one of the best days all year. We've got both the Grand Prix, of course, also the Indy 500, and it's all capped by the Coca-Cola 600. We've got a scene setter from Charlotte. Plus,
ACC champs!
Duke baseball back on top. I'll show you how the fellas left no doubt in the ACC championship next. Duke waited 60 years for its first ACC title in baseball. That came back in 2021. Now, just 3 years later, the Blue Devils are back on top again, making them 2 for 2 in ACC championship games and 8-0 when they're played in the Queen City. Let's get you up to Trees Field. What a backdrop for Duke and Florida State. The Noles, though, were up 2-1. Top of 2, bases juice for Blue Devil freshman Kyle Johnson. That's zipped down the left field line. 2 RBI double, all part of a 5-run inning that has Duke out in front. Then top of 4, FSU in some trouble here. Bases loaded again. This time for Ben Miller. That one is out of there. Bill Miller just 3 for 14, 1 ribby in the tournament, but that's a grand slam, baby, and that had Duke up 9-2 in the ball game. What's better than 1, Granny? 2. The big bat of Devin Ovey, the tournament MVP, his 3rd home run of the week, Duke's 2nd grand slam of the game, 8th of the season. Blue Devils blow it open and leave no doubt 16-4 the final. Duke ACC champions again. Ovey on line 1.
At any moment we could explode. You know, that's why we're so dangerous. But I also want to talk about our pitching staff. You know, with Jonathan Santucci being out and KJ not even throwing this weekend, like it just speaks to our team and how tough we are and how persistent we are. So, a lot of guys stepped up this weekend.
Well, in case you didn't know, Duke is now a bat and ball school these days. Yeah, because the Blue Devils softball team was playing in a winner-take-all Game 3 against Missouri. A win for Duke would punch their ticket to their first Women's College World Series appearance. And this, of course, just under 7 years this program's been going on here. This one just got underway. We'll have a full recap tonight on Sports Extra over on Fox 50. And that will all get started following the Coca-Cola 600 in Charlotte. It's the longest, most grueling race on the NASCAR schedule. But as Pat Welter tells us, this Memorial Day tradition is not only about celebrating racing, but paying tribute to those who fought for our freedom.
American flags as far as you can see.
USA! USA! USA!
The Coca-Cola 600, a weekend to celebrate racing.
I mean, we need some cautions, you know, make it interesting.
Good times. Woo! Woo, 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 woo! And of course, remember and thank our troops.
All those people out there fighting for us, I mean, it's special. It really is, because if they weren't doing that, we couldn't be here.
USA! USA! USA!
At Charlotte Motor Speedway, there isn't a wrong way to watch the race.
As you can see, we got an inflatable bed in the back, and then these two bunk beds that I built, and it's one room. It's like a one-room schoolhouse.
See, at Charlotte Motor Speedway, no resource goes to waste, even an empty beer can. This looks like a pile of trash. In fact, it is a speed bump, aka a beer bump. Pat Welter, WRAL Sports.
Well, today, many in the golfing community mourning the sudden loss of Grayson Murray, who we now know died by suicide. The Korn Ferry Tour held a moment of silence in his honor, while those participating in the Charles Schwab Challenge wore red and black ribbons today. Grayson, a Raleigh native, also a huge Caniac, would often wear red and black on Sundays. A really cool tribute there from all the players.
Certainly. Casey, thank you. And thanks to all of you for joining us tonight. We'll see you back here later on Fox 50 at 10 o'clock and on WRAL for the news at 11. Until then, have a good evening.